Texas represents leadership, hope, patriotism, and pride. It's a place where people of all cultures and creeds live, work, and raise their families together. It's a place full of opportunity. Unfortunately, under Republican control, Texas is going backward. That trend is coming to an end. It's time for a new vision in Texas. I am running for Texas Controller because I want to be part of the new generations of leaders who will bring Texas back to the 21st century and position it for a strong future. I am committed to a transparent tax administration and to establishing a vibrant economy with thriving jobs, so you can provide for your family and maintain a healthy life balance. You deserve an inclusive Texas, a Texas that embraces diversity, where no matter where you were born, the color of your skin, or the language you speak, you are welcome. You deserve a Texas that treats women equally in all areas, including equal pay and the right to make their own medical decisions. You deserve a Texas that recognizes that love is love. A Texas where all faiths, traditions are welcome, and where church and state are truly separating governmental decisions. A Texas that welcomes new business ventures and gives employees the right to organize and unionize. A Texas that respects and embraces data and science, where government leaders do their elected jobs of working for the best interests of all Texans, not special interest groups. A Texas that guarantees easy access to voting for all citizens. You deserve a Texas that repeals race suppression, where no matter your zip code, you will have access to health care, clean water, electricity, high-speed internet, and excellent education, and the resources to support your family. You deserve a Texas where you feel safe in our cities and towns, as well as in your own home. That Texas is possible with new leadership. I am running for office because it's time to bring this new vision to life. It's time to bring Texas back to the people.
Hi, everybody. It's Michelle, living blue in Texas. Today, I am with Mihaela Plesa, and she is in a runoff right now for HD 70. And she agreed to join me today, and we're going to talk about Dan Patrick's Senate charges. Mihaela, you have experience in the legislature. You know a lot about this stuff. What are Senate charges?
Michelle, thank you so much for having me this morning. I always love being on this show with you. I've gotten so many people that comment that have watched this show, and we even have Republicans watching this show because I've gotten some people calling me and saying, I saw you on Living Blue, and you know what? We're listening and we're here, and our minds are starting to open up. So thank you so much for just giving me the opportunity to come back and talk to you. You are right. The interim charges are out, and they do this on both sides in the legislature. The House gets their interim charges, and the Senate does their interim charges. And essentially, what that means is that this is kind of like our legislators' homework for the summer. And legislative sessions are only 140 days every 2 years in Texas. People are really shocked sometimes to hear that. They don't realize that we don't do a year-round thing. We're not passing legislation all the time. If something's messed up, Texans have to wait 2 years to fix it. So interim charges are essentially what are the key issues that our legislators are looking at right now so that we prepare ourselves for the next legislative session, which starts in January, 280 days away. So no pressure.
TikTok. And by the way, everybody, I usually don't wear headphones, but I'm having like audio issues today. So
I think I'm having audio issues. I'm sorry.
I had to put them on, or else I couldn't hear Mihaela. So these Senate charges, let's talk about them. Number one, which is actually like number two, but we like has to talk about it, is property tax relief. Oh my God. Republicans have been promising to lower taxes for 20 years. Yet we have the highest taxes in most of America. I think we're like number 6.
Yes.
So what are they talking about?
Well, they are talking to people to get them to come out and vote in a midterm election that typically has really low voter turnout. And property taxes is kind of like a thing that affects everybody, Republican, Democrat, everybody. And it's a really easy promise to make by a legislature that doesn't actually control our property taxes. It doesn't really do that. That's more handled at the municipality level. But if we really wanted to have property tax reform or any tax reform, the state would do its job in paying its fair share. Right now, Texas has some of the highest property taxes in the nation because our state has been cutting back on how much money we're putting into our public education fund. A lot of people don't understand. We have a $240 to $60 billion budget, depending on which fiscal cycle we're in here in Texas. That's for 2 years. And one of the largest portions of that is our education budget, what we are paying to educate our kids. And year after year, that has gone smaller and smaller. To where back when I was born under Governor Mark White, who, championed some of the best public education legislation in the last couple of years or generations, I would say, we were funding as a state more of that. We weren't at 50%, but I mean, we were getting closer to that. Now the state legislature has kept rolling back what percentage, how much we're putting into our public education coffers from the state. And that has put the burden onto property taxpayers. So if we really want to have property tax reform, we need to have public education funding reform. And that is something that the legislature can do. Oh, the sound went out. No, no. I can try reading your lips.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, yay. I don't know what it is today. We are having
Is Mercury
technical
in
issues.
retrograde?
It must be it. It must be it.
Let's blame it on that.
So if we listen to Republicans, then we would have the lowest taxes like ever. But we don't. They keep promising lower taxes, and so they go to the legislator, they lower funding, and our taxes go up. Do you think that the average Texas voter understands that?
I don't know if they understand it. I know that they're definitely feeling it. Um, Unfortunately, I think that, we can bring reform. I do think that we can relieve some of the burdens that our taxpayers are feeling. I do believe the legislature can do that. Unfortunately, when we make these promises, what we create is voter apathy. And I don't know if this plays into what Republicans are kind of trying to do. They don't really want us to turn out to vote. They don't want large people to be educated on what actually happens down at the legislature. So I don't know if they're specifically trying to hurt taxpayers, but I do know that there is a lot of misinformation, and it's really hard for people to stay on top of this stuff. I mean, people have everyday lives they're trying to live. They're trying to get their kids to school. They're trying to, pay their mortgage and their property taxes. A lot of people are really even just trying to save for their first home. They don't even understand what they're getting themselves into as far as property taxes. And another thing that I've been hearing since I've been knocking on doors for my campaign are people that are moving to Texas. They're attracted here by great home values. They're attracted here by great schools, great returns on their investment. And then they get that first property tax bill and they're kind of shook because they're like, whoa, wait a minute, we weren't expecting this. And that's why in my campaign, I've been talking about something called taxparency, right? It's basically letting the taxpayer know, where is your money going to? I don't think that Plano ISD parents would have a problem with giving back $190 million of our public education money back to the state of Texas if we knew that that money was staying in our public education, if we knew that that money was helping to educate people around the state. But we don't know that because there isn't transparency as to where the tax dollars go. So that kind of goes into your question as to, are people educated? I think that they would love more education.
Yeah. And I think that there is this I don't want to say it was like a misnomer, but I think that Republicans, especially, are touting that conservative values, these lower taxes, and that's what Texas is, and they're trying to draw Republican voters specifically to Texas to fight the changing demographics. And I think a lot of conservatives move here expecting one thing and are just blindsided. So let's look at the rest of this. It says they're going to look at inflation. They're going to look at bail bond reform. So when you and I talk about bail bond reform, and when Republicans talk about bail bond reform, it's two very, very different things. Can you explain the difference?
Yes. So I think that, first of all, let's hope that people don't have to experience why we need bail bond reform to begin with, right? I mean, if you're in this situation, it's not something that people you learn when you get there, right? And
Right.
that's kind of sometimes a really hard learning curve. When Republicans talk about bail bond reform, I think that they're trying to make it harder for people to have judicious representation under the law. I think that, we have a constitution. I think we have laws in place that say you should have a fair and speedy trial, that you should have, adequate representation. That is what, Democrats talk about when we talk about having access to even getting out of jail, right?
Yeah.
And the conversations are always around cash bail and bail bondsmen and how one gets access to the money once bail has been set. And those kind of vary differently. Republicans like to make it seem that everybody that commits a crime should just go to jail, and there isn't a conversation really about like what the place of jail should be in our society, which is rehabilitation, right? And second chances, and making people not lose their job because they spent the night in jail for something foolish, right? Which sometimes happens to communities of color and socioeconomically deprived communities. You see people that for whatever reason have an interaction with law enforcement, and then they can't get out of jail for something silly or foolish, and now they've lost their job. Their children have to go stay with parents or grandparents or whatever. So it makes it very, very hard on people to keep up with their daily lives if they've just had one bad night. And
Yeah.
they're going to constantly be judged forever on one bad decision.
Yeah.
And so we do need bail reform, but it doesn't necessarily have to make it harder or make people stay in jail, which is, I think, what Republicans are trying to do.
Right. Well, and I think the problem is, or what I see the problem is that people of lower income get arrested, often for like misdemeanor charges, or things that are not a big deal, and they don't have the money to bail out or bond out, and they're stuck in jail for 30 days, 60 days while they wait to go to see a judge. And that could be devastating on somebody's life, job, kids, and so forth.
School, I mean, a lot
Hmm.
of these people are young, they're in their early 20s, they've made a mistake and they lose their grants, they lose their scholarships. I had a story the other day. I was talking to a voter and she said, you know, I had I got pulled over. I didn't have my driver's license. She didn't even do anything wrong. I mean, she just didn't have her driver's license. She had a huge presentation the next day at school and she missed it. I mean, this was something that she had been preparing for months. And it cost her a lot. And this was over, I didn't have my license and registration. I was going out and I had a little clutch and I just forgot to throw it in there. So, I mean, these things have major ramifications, especially for people of color in our state.
Right. So another priority that Dan Patrick is going to focus on the 88th legislator, and I'm going to say it first: gay, 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 gay.
Gay.
Yes. So Dan Patrick is wanting to follow Florida's lead and pass our, Texas version of a don't say gay bill. Um, which, I mean, like, we're in 2022. Like, why?
Why? Well, I asked that a lot of Dan Patrick. We don't know why. Honestly, what more can you expect from a TV or a radio host, right? I mean, these are the types of things that get ratings. These are the types of things that energize people to go vote. Once again, let's remember we are in a midterm election. People are tired. They're tired of COVID. They're tired of the craziness they're seeing in politics. There is a war in Eastern Europe. Russian tanks are driving into Eastern Europe. These are the things my grandparents talked to me about. I never thought that I would see this in modern history.
Yeah.
So gay and saying gay and dealing with these issues, they're not things that affect Texas families on a daily basis. But what they do is they get ratings, they get people to come out and vote, they get people to, click and share, which drives our society right now. So, yeah, it's sad. It's sad that we're seeing this. We know that this type of legislation is anti business.
Mhm.
We know that this type of legislation costs our state money. We see that this type of legislation is constantly battled on a local level. Cities like Plano ISD or Plano City, the city of Plano, has put in anti-discrimination ordinances, because they know that it's bad for business.
Yeah.
Right? Our school districts are now having to deal with this. It's putting pressure on our superintendents, on our teachers. Plano ISD just got a new superintendent. Richardson ISD, new superintendent. I mean, these are big ISDs within my district that are having to deal with this stuff when they could be dealing with the mental health of our students, the mental health of our educators, and the people that assist our educators. I mean, that's the stuff that's really going to be affecting kids, not whether or not they can read a book or, you know, fully be themselves. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right. And, I think that Greg Abbott really started this whole thing by ending the uh, hotline, the LGBTQ LGBTQ youth. Then they are attacking trans youth. Next legislator, it's going to be gay. Can't say it enough. And then then what? I mean, like, who comes after that? You know, I feel like we've gone back in time to like the 1980s, where, you know, people were really scared about the AIDS epidemic, and they were scared of gay people. And in Texas, they had an anti-sodomy law that was overturned by the Supreme Court. Oh yeah, I'll have
Let
to write
me
about
tell
it
you,
sometime.
no, the fact that you bring this up, I just watched a documentary and they were talking about it, and I was watching the House floor of that debate because, like I said, I'm a Texas Ledge junkie, you guys. Like, I live and breathe this stuff, and you know the debates on the floor for that was ridiculous, and anybody who is into this stuff
For
should
the
definitely check it
anti-sodomy law?
out. Check
What
out
year?
the documentary Raise Hell, I believe it's what it's called. It's on Hulu.
Okay.
And you can see, you know, all the shenanigans that are going on in the Texas Ledge, but that one was one in particular. We really need to stop. Look, this stuff is ridiculous, and it's not the stuff that people care about. We are causing more harm than we are causing good. And unfortunately, it takes up time in the legislature. Like I said, we only have 140 days to get it right, or else we got to come back and fix this stuff. We have seen that our schools don't want to deal with this. We have seen that this isn't something that is helping. This is hurting us.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do Texans want? What do you think the average Texan wants to see from the 88th legislative session?
Well, I believe from just talking to voters, what I have seen is that people are really, really disgusted with what we've done to women's health care in this state.
Mm-hmm.
I call them medical refugees. These are people that are having to leave our state to get medical care.
Yeah.
So I believe that, you know, restoring some rights for women and some healthcare rights for people in our state is definitely on the forefront of people's mind. The grid, I hear it here in my district. People had tens of thousands of dollars in damage, some that still aren't getting repaired because of supply chain shortages and labor shortages in our state. These are the things that people are dealing with every day. Their pool isn't fixed. Their broadband isn't working. You know, now they're going through work from home, worked at work, a dual working environment. Some people, their kids aren't back in the classrooms, right? Because of fear. So these are the things that people are concerned about. These are some things that the legislature needs to get right next session. Transportation, our roads, our infrastructure. You know, we need to really have a conversation about electric vehicles, about the how much they're consuming our roads. You know, gas is astronomical right now, but yet our gas tax is insufficient, right? We know that our gas tax is not keeping up with the roads. So these are the things that are affecting everyday people's lives, and that's what they want the legislature to focus on. And that should be the responsibility of Republicans and Democrats. We need to have courageous leadership down in Austin who's beholden to their constituents and not special interest lobby groups who spend, you know, 140 days down in Austin taking a bunch of lobbyists and legislators and staff out to dinner. And they really need to focus on the fact that, like, Texans can't afford dinner.
Yeah, that's sad. So let's talk about some of these races. You know, we're talking about Dan Patrick, it is so hard to like talk and listen to myself. It's like kind of throwing me off. So let's talk about Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick, um, he should go. Like nobody likes him. Like nobody likes him.
I don't even think Greg Abbott likes it.
So there is a runoff for lieutenant governor between Mike Collier and Michelle Beckley. Do you have an opinion in that runoff?
I know both those candidates. I worked with Representative Beckley in Austin, and I've known Mike for the many. He says it himself. He's been running for office for the seat for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. So I know them both. I think it's fantastic that Democrats are stepping up to this role. I know that this was a super heavy primary. So I'm really happy to see women coming out, on top in this race as well. I know that Mike is super, super knowledgeable on so many issues and would make a fantastic lieutenant governor. So I'm really happy that that we have, candidates that are running, because it wasn't that long ago that we didn't have Democrats running for these statewide seats.
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful that we have people that are stepping up to the plate, knowing that it's a really uphill battle for this seat. I mean, this is the president of the Senate, right? This is like it's a big deal. So I wish them both well. Runoffs are hard, I'm learning.
Yeah. Another runoff I have to mention because I'm wearing his shirt, Joe Jaworski. He is in a runoff with
Rochelle Garza.
Rochelle Garza. That's totally what I was going to say. So there are 2 election dates in May, and I'm so worried because I don't want voters to get confused.
Yeah.
I think that Greg Abbott did that on purpose, but that's just
I agree with you.
So what are our voting dates in May? Do you know?
I believe it's May 7th is the local stuff, but I'm not. I'm not running for a local seat. I'm running for a state house seat.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you for certainty what days those are. Early voting starts May 16th and it goes to May 20th. There is no weekend of early voting. So please, 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 please make a plan to vote that early voting, May 16th to the 20th. And then election day is May 24th.
There's not going to be a weekend of early voting?
No.
Okay.
16th to the 20th.
Okay. There's only 4 days? It's 5 days?
Yeah.
Aren't there supposed to be 10?
We live in Texas.
They're just making up the rules as they go along.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I've been really telling everybody, please make a plan to vote. You have Memorial Day coming up around this time. It's the end of May. It's summer. People want to go on vacation. And so, yeah, it's going to be a really, really low voter turnout. And that's on purpose, right? It's not good when a very small population of people make such big choices that affect so many people. It's really not. And even like in my race, it was only 78 votes difference between my opponent and I. It's almost like a statistical tie. It's nothing. One vote tips the scale. So it's really important that people know the dates and go out May 24th, vote. It's super important. Lots of runoff elections that are on the ballot.
Yeah. I just want to mention the primary race between HD 70. You guys all had like 3,300 and something, right?
Yes.
It was
34%,
really
32%, 33%. Like it was literally 1 percentage point apart from all of us. So
wow.
I mean, it's a really close race up here in Collin County. And the decision as to whether or not we can flip this in November starts in May. Because we have to elect the strongest Democratic candidate to go up against that Republican. And when we do, and when we win in November, we will send the first Democrat on the House floor to represent Collin County in modern history. So it's a really big deal, and people should really get involved and get educated on the HD 70 raise.
Yeah, absolutely. But consultants and pollsters and all of those people are saying that HD 70 will probably go to the Democrats as long as we turn out. Is that right?
You know what? That is what I hear, but I don't believe anything until I see it. The Republicans have put up a strong candidate. And, Democrats have to turn out. The Republicans have made a lot of cases to why we shouldn't. And they have made a lot of cases as to why we should just be apathetic and Democrats don't deliver. That's why I feel really confident that if I'm the Democratic nominee, I can talk about my record of success and that Dems do get things done and that will motivate people to come out and vote. I'm so fortunate. I'm so grateful to my campaign. Out of the top 3 precincts that turned out to vote in HD 70, our campaign carried all 3 of those precincts, which shows that we are resonating with the people of this district. I have beaten the Republican in her numbers in my own home precinct. So I am energizing and engaging my community and my neighbors. And so, yeah, I feel really strongly that Dems can take this seat in November. We just got to put the right candidate up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that we're kind of short on time, but
I'll stay with you all day, Michelle.
Okay, so have you seen any good movies lately? No,
I love that you've asked this. No, let me tell y'all, I love Coda.
I haven't seen it.
You got Coda. Coda. It's so good.
Is
And
it?
it's really relevant right now for our times. I think that it tells a really powerful story. And these are the things that we should be focused on in the legislature next session. Issues like how we advance people in our state instead of how we bring them down.
Yeah. Another really relevant movie, Don't Look Up.
Oh, yes. I've seen it. Totally. I mean, I agree. Look, once again, I'll just go back to voter apathy. It's what they're trying to do, voter disengagement, voter misinformation. I mean, that's the stuff that is going to kill Democrats in November. We need to stay engaged. We need to stay informed. And we need to have candidates that are willing to speak the truth. That I think that is what's missing down in the ledge right now is that we just have way too many representatives concerned with their chairmanships, with their proximity to power instead of their proximity to their constituents. You got to be for the people, but more importantly, you have to be of the people.
Absolutely. So, if I'm in Plano, are there going to be any events that you're going to be doing in the next couple weeks?
Oh, yes. There are always ways to get involved. Look, Collin County is a pop-in place for Democrats. I've been endorsed by the Plano area Democrats and the Richardson area Democrats. So I'm always at their monthly meetings. I'm also a part of the Women Organizing Women movement up here in North Texas. So I'm always attending those meetings. I'll be doing a reception on April 23rd at the Art Center. We're going to be doing a live art auction, where Texas artists are having their voices heard. And we're just going to be raising money so that our campaign can just continue spreading our message. So I always put my events on my social media and my Twitter. You guys can follow me at Plesa for Texas. All the social media channels and my website, plesafortexas.com.
Can you spell it?
Plesa.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. You guys do not forget to vote in May. Vote twice. And then in November, vote again.
And just let me say one other quick thing to everybody. A lot of people that I've been hearing at the doors don't know. If you did not vote in the primary, you can still vote in the runoff. So please, 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 if you didn't vote in the primary, still make a plan to vote in the runoff. If you voted in the Republican primary, you cannot vote in the Democratic runoff. So, go back and vote in your, prospective primary. But also, your vote does not carry over from the primary to the runoff. So you do need to come out and vote again.
Okay. Perfect. Well, again, thanks for joining, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Okay, you have a great day.
Bye.